Hey now, it's your Brother Marcus with the Elements of Inspiration right here on the Element of Inspiration Brother Marcus podcast. Of course, I give you the best interviews on this side of the globe, and you know I also give you the best Element of Inspiration interviews, whether it's celebrities or people of interest. The Element of Inspiration, quick, I pick her up is all of that stuff. Well, today, you know what I want to talk about today? Something that many people don't want to deal with, and I'm talking about midlife crisis versus depression, all right? Are they the same or very different? Well, we're going to talk about it today. So this is the time that you can tell your friends, this is something serious. We need to talk about it, all right? Are they the same or are they different? Midlife crisis versus depression. Well, let's start off with 7 truths that you can kind of memo your memory and remind yourself of this. And, you can share this with your friends, of course. A midlife crisis is a seasonal awakening. Depression is a clinical condition. See where they're different? A midlife crisis comes from reflection. When you think about your life, when you think about what you've gone through, when you think about some of the things that, is this, what it is? Is this all there is, right? You start thinking about your life in a different way. Depression comes from persistent sadness, hopelessness, loss of interest, or, things that, interferes with your daily life, right? One question is, that we deal with is direction. Like the other drains you. One is about direction. Midlife crisis is like, giving us direction or clarity. And the other, it drains your life when you're depressed. So there's the differentiation between the two. A midlife crisis asks questions, right? Depression silences them. See, a midlife crisis says, I want more meaning. I want to know the meaning of what my life is all about. Depression says, nothing matters. I don't care. Are you going to get better? I don't care. Do you want to get better? I don't care. The difference really does matter. A midlife crisis is usually temporary, right? And it's a temporal thing, where depression can be long-term if it is untreated. The key word is untreated. So crisis, it can pass with insight and purpose and growth. Depression often requires professional support, therapy, and sometimes medication. When we're dealing with a midlife crisis, it is often leads us to, reinvention, right? Reinventing, ourselves, rethinking our life, going over those things in a positive way. Depression leads, to withdrawal. It really does. You don't want to talk to nobody, nobody around you. So with a midlife crisis, people in a midlife crisis may change careers. They might rediscover, passions. They might seek growth. And some of us will find ourselves making these changes for the betterment of our lives. Where depression comes in and sets in, depression, it tends to isolate and, it begins to exhaust you. And it makes, changes feel like impossible, like I can't do this, or I can't win, when you know that you can win. A midlife crisis is more common among, high responsibility adults, right? Those who've spent decades serving others, whether they're helping out in the community, whether they're taking care of their parents, leaders, caregivers, providers, they are especially vulnerable. And, you've poured out so much, and now you gotta make sure that you're checked out and that you're well. That's where the change comes. And now the other thing is, men often internalize it. Women often feel it rationally. See, men, they wrestle with the identity and the achievement and all of these other things, right? That's what most men kind of, grapple with and deal with or suffer from, right? But women, they often, feel, they feel it out. They feel things through transition and caregiving. When it all shifts, they become like the empty nesters, right? And it's redefining, themselves beyond the roles that they've been placed in or put in or expected to do, right? And so sometimes there's that change between the two, between men and women. Now, I want to share this. Midlife crisis is not a breakdown. It's often a breakthrough in disguise. It's the soul asking for alignment. That's the way that we need to be looking at it. So, we got to handle this wisely. we got to become, we got to look at it as like a rebirth, right? And not a retreat. Like, you're running away from something. No, it's a rebirth, right? And so this usually happens, the common window for, the midlife crisis typically appears in late 30s or mid 50s. Most commonly in the, to the early or mid 40s. Most people, they figure that part out, right? They're going through that. And they're asking questions between 40 and 48, where am I going? And between 48 and 52, what truly matters now? See, when it's often behind you, it's in your mid or late 50s. Clarity replaces confusion and reflection leads to purpose, not fear. It doesn't disappear on its own. It resolves when meaning replaces regret. So I want to share something to you out of psychology today. Midlife crisis. A midlife crisis is not about age. It's about awakening, unmet needs or unrealized potential, and this was inspired by Psychology Today. Work on, our adult development, right? That's what we all need to be doing, working on our identity. The other thing is this. Psychology Today reminds us that midlife crisis is often a call to grow, while depression is a signal to heal. See the difference? Now, I'm going to give you a couple of, scriptures because I want you to walk with this biblical wisdom as we're growing through seasons and change, right? In the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verses 1, it says, to everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. The book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verses 19 says, behold, I will do a new thing. And that's what God is trying to do, a new thing in you and in me and in all of us. Last scripture that I want to share is 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 16. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. These scriptures remind us that aging is not a decline. It's a divine development. So, keep this in mind. Time doesn't ask for permission. It simply keeps moving. The power that we have is choosing what kind of person we become while the time is moving. So here's my final thought, everybody. Your age is not a deadline. It's a data point. So it tells us that you've survived, what you've learned, and also what you now are qualified to do and speak on. Midlife is not the end of your story. It's often a chapter where wisdom finally meets courage. And I want to say this. If you want, you can win. If you want to, you can absolutely win. And you are a winner. And that's today's Brother Marcus Elements of Inspiration, quicker picker upper. And remember to share this with another friend. Remember to download the mobile app and all that good stuff. And let's continue to stay connected. And as I say on the radio, don't touch that dial. But in this case, don't touch that podcast. It's your brother talking right here on the Elements of Inspiration, Brother Marcus podcast.